Hello wrestling fans, Pro Wrestle Machine here with an entry from the Observer. If you find this video informative, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more. And now from the September 2, 2019 Observer newsletter, coverage of the 2019 New Japan Pro Wrestling Super J Cup. El Phantasmo won the 2019 Super J Cup tournament, a Jushin Liger/New Japan production this past weekend with shows in Tacoma, San Francisco, and Long Beach. It was the 7th Super J Cup dating back to the original at Sumo Hall on April 16, 1994. It was the first since 2016, when Kushida beat Yoshinobu Kanemaru in the finals. The hallmark of the shows were 3 blow-away main events: Will Ospreay's win over Amazing Red on August 22 in Tacoma, Ospreay's win over Sho on August 24 in San Francisco, and Phantasmo's win over Dragon Lee to take the tournament on August 25 in Long Beach. It was the first major New Japan shows of the year not broadcast live in some form. All 3 shows are scheduled to have voiceover work done and be put on New Japan World in mid-September, so for a few weeks the legend of Ospreay vs. Red from the live comments of people claiming it was the best live match they had ever seen, or one of the best, will have to be it for everyone who wasn't there. The tournament seemed about establishing Phantasmo as the strong rival to Ospreay. He worked as a major heel the entire tournament, beating Robbie Eagles with a low blow in the first round, then using a low blow to beat TJ Perkins, and finally had help from Taiji Ishimori to beat Ospreay. Phantasmo beat Lee in a bloodbath. Phantasmo had put Lee through a table. He then came off the ring post with a double foot stomp on Lee on the broken table, but in landing, hit his head on the back of an open chair on the floor, and got what was described as a nearly 2-inch gash straight down from his hairline. For the finish, Phantasmo had Lee on his shoulders, walked the middle ropes and gave him a TKO into the ring. When it was over, Jushin Liger was supposed to put the J-Cup jacket on him, but Liger refused and he and Phantasmo had words. Liger walked away and Phantasmo said he knew Liger was going to retire but he should just retire him right now. Liger flipped him off. This led to Phantasmo challenging Liger for his retirement match on January 5 at the Tokyo Dome. Liger didn't accept the challenge, so this story will probably play out over the next few months, but New Japan booking doesn't tease things that they aren't expecting to deliver. Phantasmo then called Ospreay the autistic assassin. There was a lot of heat from fans regarding that remark, and not good heat either. But it wasn't Tom that agreed the company will be taking action over it. Ospreay came out to confront him, but once again Ishimori helped Phantasmo beat down Ospreay. Eagles ran in for the save. Ospreay then cut a promo that got over so big the Walter Pyramid was shaking, ending up challenging Phantasmo for a shot at his IWGP Junior title, so that will likely take place over the next 2 months. Phantasmo and Ishimori also challenged Ospreay and Eagles to a junior tag title match. Ospreay then talked about how the Bullet Club was once known for having the most talented wrestlers and relying on their ability to win, and told them to take their sports entertainment bullshit elsewhere. Another angle was done earlier in the show during a Tetsuya Naito and Bushi vs. Jay White and Ishimori match. White laid out Naito with a sleeper suplex, then hit the sleeper suplex on Bushi and pinned him after Blade Runner. After the match he attacked Naito and laid him out with a chair, a low blow, and hit another Blade Runner. He then called for the mic. The heat on White was incredible as you couldn't hear him talk over the boos. He milked it for more than 5 minutes, which is incredible. Fans were screaming to keep him from talking, and finally he said, "Okay, drop the mic," and started stomping on Naito. He finally yelled, "You did this," at the crowd and gave Naito another Blade Runner. He was getting great heat and said that Naito's dream of being both IC and IWGP champion at the same time at the Tokyo Dome is his destino. This builds for Naito vs. White for the IC title in the Destruction in Kobe main event on September 22. But in other ways, the real story was the Ospreay vs. Red match. Ospreay growing up idolized Red and low-key, and that their matches made him a fan when he was 14. He basically talked him out of retirement back in March to do the 3 shows and face him. It was huge to Ospreay. In fact, he was talking about it all week, on how determined he was to have a classic match with Red. From all accounts he succeeded. Numerous fans at the Temple Theater, including Brian Alvarez, remarked that it was one of the greatest live match they had ever seen. Still, Ospreay avoided a letdown, including, from his own words, getting way too hammered on his night off the next night as he came to San Francisco early. He said he was both hurting and hungover, but still had a second classic with Sho, before a completely different type of crowd and doing a completely different match. In this one, Ospreay played subtle heel and his role was to get Sho over while still beating him to make the Final 4. This was one of the best matches of Sho's career, and the crowd was behind him huge looking for the upset, but it wasn't so much Sho as Ospreay making Sho look good. Still, seeing it was Ospreay, even though the crowd got behind show, it was obvious as even little kids who were there could see it based on what several parents told me. Tacoma was said to be a rabid crowd that was loud for just about everyone and everything, and the show was said to be super. San Francisco felt like a New Japan regular road to house show in Japan, except the crowd was American. It was a small crowd packing a way too small gym at San Francisco State in what was the first pro wrestling match ever in the building. They were quiet but very into everything, reacting very much like a Japanese crowd in most cases. There were some exceptions. The show was good, but really, as far as every match but the main event, it didn't feel much different quality-wise from a WWE house show. You might get a match much worse on a WWE show than anything, but the WWE show will be more elements than just match for 2.5 hours with no breaks, talking or things on the video screen. Before the main event, I'd say as compared to an NXT live show, you get 1 or 2 higher-end matches, a louder very different crowd, but also a few matches with people not nearly as good as the inexperienced people here. As a comparison with PWG, it was clear just how PWG is so above it and beyond for a full show. Every match except the last 2 would be weak by PWG standards, but the main event would be high-end PWG, at the top tier of matches there. The buildings in Tacoma and San Francisco seemed too small. Tacoma sold out with standing room, and 991 paid and about 1,100 in the building. Aside from standing room, all seats went immediately. But they did $22 a head in merchandise, and San Francisco was likely similar with a giant merchandise line even though he paid was only $788. It sold out instantly. They announced a November 9th return date at the San Jose Civic Auditorium, which would probably hold about 2,500 for a New Japan setup. No word as far as if this is part of a multi-show tour or not. The finals in Long Beach at the Walter Pyramid drew 2,512, which when you consider they did 3,000 last time for a far more star-laden show, is about what would be expected. August 22nd, Tacoma Temple Theater, 991 sellout. Match 1. Jushin Liger and Carl Fredericks beat Shota Umino and Ren Narita in 7:30 when Fredericks made Narita submit to a half crab. The crowd was into everything. They did a basic style good match. Match 2. In a first-round match, Soberano Jr. pinned Rocky Romero in 11:04 with a tornillo off the top rope. All-action fast-paced fun match. Match 3. In a first-round match, T.J. Perkins beat Clark Connors in 11:56 with the Pinoy stretch. Connors, who was from the area, got the spear and Boston Crab. Perkins reversed the Boston Crab into his own finisher. Said to be an excellent match with a ridiculous amount of heat. Match 4. In a first-round match, Caristico pinned Bushi in 10:08 with a Spanish fly off the top rope. Bushi worked as a heel. They botched one spot badly. Caristico also messed up his own La Mystica finish. It took them some time to get back on track. It was still a good match. Match 5. In a first-round match, Ryusuke Taguchi pinned Jonathan Gresham in 12:59 with a series of cradles and Taguchi got a 3 count. Lots of comedy throughout. At one point both guys spun around and got dizzy. Then Taguchi went to do the bomb AE, but since he was dizzy he missed Gresham and ran into the corner. In a first-round match, El Fantasmo pinned Robbie Eagles in 12:17 with a low blow after a ref bump and a cradle holding the tights. Tons of flying and crazy spots, with Fantasmo working as a complete heel. Said to be a great match. Match 7. In a first-round match, Dragon Lee pinned Yo in 18:51 with a Desnucadora. Yo worked on his leg throughout. Lee did a great dive. Match 8. In a first-round match, Sho pinned Taiji Ishimori in 17:06 with a package piledriver. Super match going back and forth. There was a "Let's Go Red Shoes" chant during the match. Uno got a standing ovation when he came out. Match 9. In a first-round match, Will Ospreay pinned Amazing Red in 28:19 with a Stormbreaker. Ospreay worked the match as a heel since he clearly was trying to get Red over. People were chanting "Let's Go Red" and then some guys would chant "Shoes" at the end. Lots of dives. Ospreay delivered ridiculously hard chops. Red used a code red for a great near fall which got a gigantic reaction. Ospreay did an Oscutter on the apron at one point. Ospreay did some crazy selling almost like Kurt Hennig or Shawn Michaels comedy overselling stuff to put over Red's offense. Ospreay kicked out of the code red. Ospreay used an Oscutter off the middle ropes and the Stormbreaker for the pin. August 24th, San Francisco State University Student Life Event Center, 788 sellout. Match 1. Jonathan Gresham beat Alex Colon in 8:14. Colin launched him with a gut wrench. Gresham worked on Colin's left knee. Colin's chest was beat raw. Colin went for a Boston Crab, Gresham reversed and they traded cradles until Gresham got the 3 count. 2 3/4 stars. Match 2. Robbie Eagles beat Clark Connors in 9-12. Some bouncing off the rope spots were a little off as they appeared to be used to a bigger ring. Connors did a great pounce and spear for near falls. Eagles' chest was all beat red. Eagles won with a leglock submission. 2 3/4 stars. Match 3. Bushi pinned Shota Umino in 7-06. The crowd was really into Umino from the tag matches in G1 with lots of shooter chants. Bushi got the pin after the Midnight Express. 2 1/4 stars. Match 4. Taiji Ishimori and Gedo beat Carl Fredericks and Ren Narita in 8:39. Gedo played total heel, at one point trying to walk out and Narita threw him back in. Fredericks at one point got the Boston Crab on Gedo, who tapped, but Gedo wasn't the legal man. Ishimori got the submission with the label lock on Narita. 2 3/4 stars. Match 5. Jushin Liger and Amazing Red beat Rocky Romero and Yo in 12:51. Liger got by far the biggest reaction on the show, as Ospreay was a distant second. It started with Romero acting he was a big fan of Liger and then Romero attacked and healed on him. Red at one point did a missile dropkick on Romero and Yo at the same time. Red did some cool moves on his hot tag. At other spots he was a little off. Red got the surprise pin on Romero with code Red. 3 1/4 stars. In the first quarterfinal match, Caristico beat Soberano Jr. in 8:30. Soberano's left shoulder was all messed up, taped and with a black protection piece over it. Lots of high spots but it never got intense, but was fun. Soberano used a Fosbury flop. Caristico did a running flip dive. Soberano did a moonsault on a draping Caristico. Caristico got the pin after a Spanish fly off the top rope. 3 stars. Match 7. In another quarterfinal, El Fantasma beat TJ Perkins in 14:49. More comedy than you'd think. Perkins is a very good wrestler but he wasn't really over. Fantasmo spit on his hand and wanted to shake hands. Perkins wouldn't, so Fantasmo flung his hand and the spot got on the ref. It was gross. When Perkins was down, Fantasmo stepped on his crotch and the ref didn't DQ him but refused to count due to the low blow. Fantasmo did a rope walk into a Super Hurricane Rana. He also did a rope walk into a top rope Asai moonsault, which was probably the hottest single spot on the show. He did a springboard splash 3/4 of the way across the ring. Fantasmo did a Super Frankensteiner, a senton off the TP but missed a moonsault. After a ref bump, Fantasmo did a hard punch to the groin and a cradle holding the trunks for the pin. 3 1/4 stars. Match 8. Dragon Lee pinned Ryusuke Taguchi in 11:27. Lee did a great running flip dive to start. He's got a different level of explosiveness with his dives that make them more impressive. Taguchi did a sitting splash off the top rope and all his ass-related offense. This was both comedy and at the same time also some serious, but never hit great. Lee won with a running knee. 3 stars half. Match 9. Will Ospreay pinned Sho in 30-32. Sho blocked a Tihara early to get over his power. Sho spent most of the match working the left arm and hand and Ospreay sold it like it was legit. He especially sold the fingers and late in the match when he did his big power bomb spot did it with only the right arm. Ospreay missed some sort of a running move on the floor when Sho moved. I believe the idea was to crotch himself on the barricade, but the barricade collapsed and he started acting like he broke his fingers or wrists. Red Shoes acted concerned like maybe he should stop the match. Ospreay did a phenomenal forearm off the barricade. Sho threw kicks and went for an armbar. Ospreay did a Fosbury flop dive and a Bloody Sunday DDT. Sho did 2 German suplexes, but Ospreay landed on his feet on the third and hit a Paul Robinson kick. Ospreay went for the Oscutter, but it was blocked and Sho hit a spear. Ospreay hit a stunner. Ospreay went for an Oscutter, but Sho caught him and acted like he couldn't lift him due to the awkward positioning, but German suplexed him anyway. This spot got a standing ovation. The place went nuts when Sho kicked out of the power bomb and later when he kicked out of the Oscutter. Ospreay put Sho on his shoulders and climbed to the middle ropes and gave him an iconoclasm for a near fall. Ospreay used a high kick, a Spanish fly, hidden blade and stormbreaker and got the pin. He and Sho embraced after the match. Ospreay did a great promo after the match, putting over Sho, talking about how some fans like him and some don't, but said, sometimes he doesn't even like himself. He noted that New Japan has lost key guys but called himself the best wrestler in the world and that New Japan was the best wrestling in the world, talked about coming to San Francisco early, drinking too much, being hungover in the morning, having a bad neck and bad arm, and put over how great Show was, and how he'll be a major star and more. He also talked about how the last time in San Francisco we lost one of the best, in reference to Hiromu Takahashi breaking his neck in the match with Dragon Lee at the Cow Palace. He said that he's heard Takahashi is doing well and will be returning soon. 4¾ stars. August 25th, Long Beach State University Walter Pavilion 2512. Match 1. Dragon Lee pinned Caristico in 11-10 in the first semifinal. The match was said to be disappointing. A lot of great lucha work, but it never reached the great level and people's expectations were so high. Some stuff wasn't smooth, although no spots were blown. But Caristico injured his shoulder early in the match and both were concerned about it rather than worked it into the match story. Caristico worked heel and went after Lee's mask. Lee used a nice running flip dive and got the pin with the desnucadora. Caristico was selling his shoulder and Lee looked concerned after the match. There was nothing noticeable in the match and Lee never worked on the shoulder itself. Match 2. El Fantasmo pinned Will Ospreay in 11-28 in the other semifinal. This match was said to be fantastic start to finish. Fantasmo attacked Ospreay before the match and worked over the right knee. When the bell rang, Ospreay immediately hit a Spanish fly for a great near fall and it was hot from there. At one point Fantasmo was walking on the guard rail and Ospreay kicked the guard rail, causing him to fall into the first row. Ospreay then did the phenomenal forearm off the guard rail into the crowd. There was a ref bump. Ospreay used a series of kicks, the Oscutter and Hidden Blade. He had Fantasmo up for the Stormbreaker, when Taiji Ishimori came out and hit Ospreay with the Bloody Cross. Fantasmo used the CR2 for the pin. Tons of heat over that finishing sequence. Match 3. Alex Colon beat Shota Umino in 7:34 with the Boston Crab. Umino was over like crazy at every show with people chanting "shooter" at him from the Jon Moxley promos. Both looked good. A notable thing is that Umino is really higher on the pecking order than Colon. In WWE booking, Umino would win this, but they had Colon win as an American. The funny thing is, they changed what the normal finish would be based on Colon being the local. But in this case, the crowd was more for Umino. Match 4. Jonathan Gresham beat Clark Connors in 10-25. Well-worked match. Lots of good stuff on the mat. Connors stayed right with him. The crowd reacted like a Japanese crowd here, quiet but into it. The crowd didn't cheer either guy loudly. Gresham won with the octopus catch, which was a choke and throwing elbows from that position over and over like an MMA tap-out finish. Match 5. Soberano Jr. beat Ren Narita in 6:55. Fun short match. Soberano used a Fosbury flop dive. Soberano threw the most wicked chops on the show. Soberano won with a tornillo off the top rope. Juice Robinson beat Carl Fredericks in 9:55. Solid match. Robinson got big reaction, although not the level of Ospreay. Fredericks got nice near fall with a spinebuster. Robinson won with a left punch, a power bomb, and then used the Tenzan-style Boston Crab for the submission. Robinson gave Fredericks a hand after the match. I think most people who have seen him the past few weeks figure in 3 years he's a major star. Match 7. Jushin Liger and TJ Perkins and Amazing Red and Ryusuke Taguchi beat Sho and Yo and Rocky Romero and Robbie Eagles in 14-17. Said to be a masterwork in psychology. The whole thing was about keeping Taguchi out of the ring, so when he finally entered, the place went crazy. He kept missing the hip attacks until the second biggest pop of the show when he hit it. Perkins pinned Romero with the detonation kick. Liger got an incredible reaction. Match 8. Jay White and Taiji Ishimori beat Tetsuya Naito and Bushi in 14:09. Naito got the biggest reaction on the show, even more than Liger. Everyone hated White. The match was good with everyone doing their big moves at the end. The post-match was said to be fantastic. Match 9. El Fantasmo beat Dragon Lee in 25-33 to win the tournament. This was said to be the third best match in Long Beach, behind only Kenny Omega vs Tomohiro Ishii and Young Bucks vs Golden Lovers. Fantasmo tried to bring out the Bullet Club, but Red Shoes, huge babyface reaction here, ordered them gone. Lee did a great tope. The crowd really got into it when Lee did his jump over the top rope Hurricane Rana on Fantasmo on the apron to the floor. Lee then came off the apron with a Tijera on the floor, but Fantasmo caught him and power-bombed him through the timekeeper's table. Fantasmo then came off the top rope with a double foot stomp on Lee, who was laying on the broken table. Somehow in all this, Fantasmo got cut in the forehead on the table. The crowd was liking the match before, but with all the blood, they started going crazy. Lee did the Del Rio double foot stomp to the floor and Fantasmo barely beat the 20 count. After a striking exchange, Lee licked Fantasmo's blood off his own hands. During a ref bump, Phantasmo punched him to the groin and rolled him up like he won his first 2 bouts, but Lee kicked out. He went after Lee's mask. Red Shoes tried to stop him and went down. Phantasmo gave Lee another low blow, then walked the middle